formal meditation practice, there's a reason we have formal meditation practice. And so I want to tell you one of the things of Longchenpa in terms of embracing concepts as allies. And what I'm going to share with you in terms of his statement, I feel is most readily and much more deeply ascertained when you do have an opportunity to sit quietly. So, embracing concepts as allies. This is the one. Maintain an ongoing awareness of your fixated perceptions as allies, resolving naturally with no object remaining. You will experience timeless awareness arising within you without fixed basis, and will perceive things as evanescent. So I want to talk what this is about in terms of an ultimate practice and what it is in terms of a also relative practice. Concepts as allies. Everything is here. Everything that arises in the mind, in feeling, and mind I'm characterizing as will, thought, and feeling. That's my definition of mind. Will, thought, and feeling. Anything that arises in the mind is here to serve awakening, to become conscious of, and to remain conscious of. You remain conscious of the presence of awareness, remaining conscious of the presence that is there in the midst of all arising thought. And also becoming conscious of the perceptions and the fixations that are the basis of suffering, that are the arising of the suffering of a sense of a separate self as body-mind identity. So if all thought, because there is nothing outside of awareness, everything is arising in awareness. So when sitting and potentially really considering all of your thoughts, all concepts, anything that arises as an ally, the mere arising of it, and this is why they say you look at the substance of your thoughts. But if you are aware of thought, sitting, and this practice can be tried for 5 to 10 minutes, even 5 minutes, sit and allow the thoughts. No suppressing thought, no grasping at thought. And this is for just a formal practice, not an everyday life and everyday moment. And it will get to that at some point eventually, and I'm sure it's at that for many of you. As it arises, will arise, will abide, will pass away. It is of and coming from the truth. It comes out of the nature. It is an aspect of awareness. It's arising in awareness. And so when it says it becomes evanescent, boom, without grasping or fixating, you can watch it. Oh, they will arise, may abide for a moment, and will pass away. And there you are in the full presence of awareness. So that is the ultimate meditation practice. It is the ultimate meditation practice. Because when you are not pulled by the phenomenal arising within your own mind, you potentially will achieve spiritual liberation, because you would have recognized that there is no substance to thought. There is no substance. The thought is given substance. So we give the substance to our thought. And through the habitual conditioning, through the conditioning that we all came in with, there's already that identification through the conditioning of the thoughts as aspects of self. Now we are to the awareness of your fixated perceptions. So now, say, in a daily movement or momentum of thought that arises, again, it's your ally. So if there's no resistance to any thought or any feeling that arises ever, if there's a full engaging with what's arising, it will serve your awakening. Now, Guru Padmasambhava said, one of our favorites, though my view is as spacious as the sky. So though I have the view and the ultimate view, knowing that all of this is arising in awareness, because there is nothing outside of awareness, though my view is as spacious as the sky, because when you're not grasping, when you're not holding, when you're not churning, there is the pure, open, cognizant, luminous presence that is empty in nature, not void, not nothing, but luminous. The mind, in essence, is luminous. It is luminosity itself. I just went there and forgot what I was saying. So then within the realm, and though my view is spacious as the sky, my respect for cause and effect is as fine as grains of flour. So to understand fixated perception, to understand your perceptions, because let's just say the contents of mind, which are perceptions, the only time they need attention is when they are the basis or when they are causing suffering and repeated fixation. And any fixated perception that is arising in the mind, like Maharaj says, what arises in the mind must be undone by the mind. So it's like a thorn removes a thorn. So then that is when you come into the discernment of your subjective awareness of your own mind and arising thing. And that's why this is the twofold path, so to speak. And the beauty, though, of the more this penetrates the arising delusion, the more it penetrates it, the more life energy there is, and the more power there is, and capacity of awareness. So to increase the faculties of that discerning awareness. is the other aspect of that. And Natone had given a teaching on the aspects of mind. Does everybody remember that one by chance? The two aspects of mind: illumination and consideration. So the mind in and of itself is luminous. This empty cognizant luminosity. And the other aspect of the mind is consideration. So when thoughts arise, this isn't bad, good, or not, it doesn't matter. This is the function of it. It will consider. So the mind will consider thought. The mind will consider what arises in the thought, to push away what is arising in thought, and just to say, oh, it's empty. That is not it, because the cognizant recognition of the actualization of the experience of the empty nature of it is where the realization comes in. The intellect can be primed for that realization. But in terms of this ultimate realization, it must be recognized. It must be recognized as the emptiness that it is. So the mind will always consider what is arising. So you consider what arises, and then of course all of the teachings we've had on the disturbing emotions, the afflictive emotions, desire, fear, anger, all of these things. There is a line in one of the it was the trainings of a bodhisattva I'd read years ago, and I read one line years and years ago, and it was, all suffering comes from selfishness. And I was like, no. And I was like, oh, come on. I mean, literally, this is like how many years ago? And I'm not talking about pain. I'm talking about mental and emotional suffering. All suffering comes from selfishness. It's true. It is true. All suffering comes from selfishness, trying to fulfill a sense of self that is ever changing. So one's sense of self is constantly changing, depending on the circumstance, depending on the age, depending on who you're in relationship with. I was talking with somebody this the other day. It's like, oh, right, but there's a self-image, right? So fulfilling this sense of self. And that is where the suffering comes in. And as Natone says, most of that suffering comes in trying to secure body, to secure the ever-changing and impermanent. Everything is in constant change. And there is nothing permanent about anything that is arising. It is in constant change. Nothing stays the same for more than a billionth of a second. Boom, boom, boom. We are in the midst of constant change. The body, the mind, circumstances, event, it's constantly changing. And so the point of spiritual liberation, or the point of that ultimate liberation, is to recognize the unchanging, that which is changeless. And that's what's to be nurtured constantly and at every turn. So at every turn, even in moments throughout the day, yes, you can have that moment. Right in between all of the thoughts, there's this presence. And what's amazing, it never needs to be sought for. The self nature is fully realized. There's nothing that needs to be done for it. Absolutely nothing. It's all the rest. The effort is the unearthing of unreality. That's where the effort comes in. Reality is effortless. The truth of being is effortlessness itself. And that's why, now I'll start at the beginning. Longchenpa says, old man basking in the sun. Basking in the in the presence of awareness. But that is not apart. That is not an avoidance of the changing. And that's where the courage comes in spiritual life, because it's a dance. And usually the time when we want to avoid change is when it's something we don't want. Resistance. Resistance to what is one of the greatest hindrances when we resist what is. And due to so much suffering, there is a desire to resist what is. And if you have the potential to change what is, the changing of what is comes in absolute total clarity when non-resistance is first. When non-resistance is first, then there can be action. Then there can be a potential clarity. There can be a letting go. There can be whatever is present in consciousness. And last gathering, we just all had the biggest laugh when we were talking about Neton and basically saying, and I had a really, I had an ascertaining of the transmutation of karma recently, because saying, yes, she was a master in that she was blowing shit up, because that is the functioning of an awakened consciousness. The awakened consciousness will blow up illusion. That's what it does. And that's what yours does. That's what this, well, you can say subjective consciousness, but awakened consciousness sees through illusion. It penetrates illusion. And as far as transmuting karma, I was saying this the other day, you never need to go through the garbage and just pull out. You don't have to go through the garbage. You just have to see it when it floats to the surface. When it floats up, okay. But the transmuting of karma, and this is the beauty of also the power of mantra and also formal meditation in that sense, because there is the conscious putting the attention and awareness, or putting the consciousness upon the very fact of liberation, upon the very fact of the true nature. And that's why Maharaj says you stay with this I amness. You stay with this sense of I am, this sense of presence. And the sense of presence is this love to be, the beingness of love. Wisdom, so in the wisdom heart, that's the other beautiful thing about dropping into the heart of awareness. There's wisdom. There's wisdom in the wisdom. The heart is the wisdom. The heart mind is the wisdom. And the self-recognition is the wisdom. And so maintain an ongoing awareness of your fixated perceptions as allies. They're here to serve you. Resolving naturally, if you don't grasp, with no object remaining. And then you will experience timeless awareness arising within you without fixed basis. And perceive things as evanescent. And that's the ultimate practice. That's the ultimate meditation. Because in doing that, and in priming that, you're abiding in your natural state. And it just got a little bit, because sometimes even in the spiritual thing, there's this thing of like, oh, now I have to, do this and seek this, boom, 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 to get this. No, much easier. I mean, yes, maybe for a time, but to recognize, because when the presence, then you're in the realm of wisdom, and you're in the realm of intuition. And the more that's paid attention to, the more fluid it gets in the arising consciousness. And that is the seat of happiness. The seat of happiness is this presence, the peace of the unchanging.